Right. Guess we'll get to it. Let's see here. All right.
Any questions about anything from last week? That's what's coming up this week. We got
In the case study this weekend, there, right? With you and Miss Daisy. You guys started working on that yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. All right. All right. Just we're gonna cover project teams and really speak about group dynamics. And you managing a project is a little different than managing like long-term teams. Just because, when you're working on a project or the project manager, a lot of times the teams are put together specifically for the project. So it's kind of like a special task force, sort of, as compared to, you being the lead on a team that's not going anywhere. That's part of your department, and those people work for you permanently, a long-term basis. And so the team building is a little different in the sense that it has to happen very quickly. And you have to identify the skill sets that you need rather quickly, and then try to get all these people to kind of come together and have some synergy in order to get the project done, right? Normally you have a little more time, and typically in a regular team, just because we're on the team doesn't necessarily we're going to interact with each other. All right. Same thing with project management teams, but more than likely, you're going to have to deal with each other in some capacity, no matter what, in project management teams. So it's really difficult to balance all that. Not to mention, many instances, the people down the team, they still have their regular job, right? So unless they're solely assigned to your project, they typically are balancing two sets of responsibilities. And so it gets kind of conflicting for them, as to, which kind of master they serve, right? Because they serve two. They serve the project manager and they serve their regular boss, right? Um, but again, um, success on the project can easily translate into something that would be beneficial to the person, as long as it was conveyed to the supervisor, like, hey, person was very helpful on the team, really appreciated good hard work, we put out a good quality product, and so hey, and so just to make sure that that gets into their performance evaluations, right? And so many times, you'll find that um, team members will put more effort into their regular job or put the priorities of the team, the project, secondary, right? So it's always the best thing if you can get total 100% dedication, from whoever is assigning the teams or whoever you're getting the resource from. Like, hey, can I have this person solely on my project and not doing anything else, right? Which is somewhat difficult at times, for the company, because now you're basically putting their supervisor kind of in a pickle where someone else has to pick up the slack, right? Their job doesn't stop. It's just the whole point of like, now who's going to pick up the slack? It may be the supervisor themselves, or they may divvy up the work and say, okay, each of us get a portion of whatever job Todd was doing until Todd gets back. But usually they don't do that. Normally it's, hey, Todd, you're gonna balance your job and you're gonna balance this project. All right. And so you gotta find kind of the balance for yourself, that works. Okay. All right. So characteristics of high performing teams, right? They always share a common purpose. Okay. And that's something, all these kind of these things that are characteristics of a high performing team, those basically are vocalized by the team leader, right, or the project manager, whoever it is, right, trying to lead the team. These are things that we have to, from the onset, as soon as the team is formed, I need to let you know, okay, what is the purpose of this particular team, right? Whether it be a specific project or our long-term goals of just doing whatever the department does. And so we have to, kind of get on the same sheet of music and understand what is our common purpose. Because as long as we have a common purpose and everyone knows what it is, then even if there's some screw ups, we'll always come back to the right path because everybody has the end state in mind. Okay, how you get there might differ. Might not be as efficient on one end as it is another, but and then we get to where need to because we share sense of common purpose, and that's conveyed by the team leader or the project manager. Okay. Make effective use of individual talents and expertise. All right. So again, being the leader, part of your job is to assess your talent. Okay. Is to assess the people that work for you and be able to point out their strengths and their weaknesses so that you can understand where they best fit and where they best add the value to the team. And so, understanding, who you have, how long they've been doing it, what they're really good at, what some of their weaknesses are, right? Kind of the pros and cons of having the person. Then you can start assigning people to different things. You may get a person that is coming from marketing, but may, have had an HR background, may has a technical background. So you may use them in a dual purpose, or you may just say, you know what, I'm going to put you here instead of here. It's still marketing, but I just need you to probably do more of the market research aspect of it, vice the advertising aspect of it. Right. So again, understanding who you have on your team and leveraging their talents as best you can. Right. Balanced role and shared tasks. Okay. This is a little difficult just because you don't really know your team. Usually the PM doesn't know the team, right? He's just getting to meet, he or she's just getting to meet them. And so trying to, figure out, the balance between what they're doing, right? And what I need them to do, right? Sometimes it's difficult. And then assigning, like there's certain roles within the team that are very informal, right? Because there's always somebody on the team that's not necessarily the leader, but everyone goes to, okay? Because of either, their expertise power or their expert power, right? Just power in general, right? Or they may be, someone who's seen as, responsible, sage advice, level-headed, and just that person you kind of go to like, hey, you've been doing this for like 50 years, right? Like, what do we do here? Like, I run into this roadblock, or hey, we need you to talk to the project manager because we're not liking this particular way of doing things, and we know he'll listen to you or she'll listen to you, right? And so, gotta figure it out. And then you have to also understand which tasks and which responsibilities you really want to share with the team, right? Um, Again, that's having an understanding of who you have, what they can do, how much they can handle, what roles are they in, right? Because some people might come and join a team, they might be managers, all right? Very unlikely, but they may be managers. They may have people that they supervise, or they may have some really unique talents that aren't necessarily used in their day-to-day job, but can be used on the project, right? And so understanding which tasks to share, and there's certain tasks you just don't share, right? Anything really financial, I wouldn't share that. Okay, I would take sole responsibility with basically the scheduling and the financial aspect of the budget of and purchases and that the accounting piece, and reconciling and supply inventory. I kind of would keep that close hold as much as I could be, because that's really where you kind of see the difference in how efficient things are being ran, and you want to make sure you keep a running tally, at least an estimate of what's going on with the budget, right? Because you don't want to have to be surprised with, oh, we're $100,000 over budget. It's been a month and we're already $100,000 over budget. How's that? So you kind of want to keep that close hold and not necessarily share those responsibilities with more than maybe one person, and that's probably be your right hand person who has understanding of what's going on so that you can, be gone. All right. You can take a day off or you have some other things. Life is going to happen. The project manager is not always going to be available, but the project must continue. And so the boss may have a question, the PM's not there. Somebody else has to be in charge and understand what's going on, right? How's the budget looking? What are we doing as far as timeline? Have we had any deliverables, and that kind of thing, right? Um, Exert energy toward problem solving, all right? You want to make sure that you have a team that is really focused on, kind of out of the box thinking and focused on um, not complaining about the problem, but trying to figure, okay, what's the best approach and solution for us to remedy this issue, right? And many times in teams, what you'll get is a lot of complaining. You get a lot of, people talking about other things aside from the project that they don't like about their job, about their life, about whatever, and they'll try to interject that and try to connect that somehow to the project. We're not really focused on that. What we're focused on is the issue at hand. Now, that's not to say I don't care about what's going on in your life, because that has an impact on how well you perform. But at the end of the day, I really need you to focus all your energy on solving this issue, right? Solving issues as they arise, solving challenges as they come up, right? So that's one of the characteristics of high performing teams, right? And also to be able to do it on an individual basis and not just always needing to confer to me, right? One rule that you should always keep in your back pocket, whether you're going up to your boss or somebody's coming to you, is it's okay to have a problem, but you better have some solutions with it. Okay. You need to give your boss some options. Like, okay, I know what the problem is. Great. What do you propose we do? Well, I think we should do eight, one or three. Give me some decisions to make, right? Same thing, someone comes to you like, hey, boss, this is the problem, and I've got three fixes or three approaches. You get to pick which one based on the information you know about the budget and everything else and the resource that we may have that I don't know of. But these are the three options I suggest. And that way you have something to kind of lean on and kind of go, okay, let me see. Based on what I know, based on what you told me, we're going to go with option B, right? Never go in with just a problem. Okay, have some answers, have some solutions. And same thing, if someone comes to you with just a problem, they're just complaining. Okay, they know you got no answers, you got no solutions, you got no remedies, no paths. What are we doing here, right? Go back, think about it, come back with some options for me to pick from, and then we'll move forward. Okay. Um, accept differences of opinion and expression. I can't even stress this enough. Okay. Um, and accepting them and actually executing them is two different things, right? It's okay to listen to your folks, right? Especially the subject matter experts about, hey, how to do something, right? That's what they're there for. But everything that's introduced to you is not going to get executed, right? Again, you're going to have to pick the most plausible, feasible, financially, fiscally sound uh, plan in order to get the project done. So every idea that comes up is not a great idea, but you listen, right? And even if it's an opinion, you still listen and try to process and try to get something out of it. Because again, 9 times out of 10, the person is probably just complaining or venting. And so when they're venting, they just need somebody to listen to them, right? And then from there, you got to go, okay, those are great ideas. Not sure if we were to implement any of them, but we'll see. I'll keep it under consideration. Okay, that's all you got to say. I will take it under consideration, because you'll have people coming into your office 24/7 with great ideas. You'll be getting emails all day about, you know, whatever idea they think. Okay. All right. Um, encourage risk taking and creativity. This one, to a certain degree. Okay. We have a plan, and depending on what the project is, I want you to come up with innovative ways, and I want you to take risk, but I want you to take calculated risk. Okay. Just taking a risk because you have a gut feeling, or you think, like, that's not a risk I want you to take. I want you to take a risk that you've actually done research on and say, you know what, this has got a 70% chance of working. Okay. Based on what I know, based on what I've done before, it's about 70 to 80% chance of working. I'm gonna try it this way, especially if you have time to kind of experiment with different things. They say, okay, let me try this software. Let me try this tool. This doesn't do it as well as the other one. I'm gonna go with this one, right? Take risk. And you shouldn't um feel that you can't take risk, right? You should really take risk without fear of repercussion, right? You don't want people worrying about if they're gonna get fired or if they're gonna get yelled at or chewed out because they took a chance on something, right? Especially if it's a calculated risk, there's a risk assessment and everything is good. You want to make sure that you make people feel like, hey, they can propose their ideas to you and you'll listen, right? And if they took a risk and it didn't work out, that they're not going to get a butt chewing, all right? Because this stifles creativity. This stifles a lot of things. And then at the end of the project, sometimes what happens is, you get a certain outcome and then you go, man, we could have done it this other way. And that person goes, well, I thought about doing it that way, but I didn't say nothing because I didn't want to get my head chopped off. Like, you should have said something. Okay. All right. Don't you, but again, the person who's in charge has to create that atmosphere where it's like, look, it's okay. Give me pitch out and do your thing, right? But keep it within certain guidelines, keep it within the parameters of the project and don't take high risk actions. Take risks that are calculated, that are measured, that aren't going to be like catastrophic. All right. We don't want catastrophic um, risk. Okay. We want calculated risk that we are like, hey, okay, if it doesn't work out, we didn't cause too much damage to the system. We're still okay. All right. Set high personal performance standards. All right. Again, that's leadership stuff. Okay. Your team is going to go as you go. They're going to emulate your work standards, your work ethics. If your work is sloppy and not no attention to detail is happening, that's what you're going to get from your people, right? Because they're going to be like, well, you don't care anyway. So whatever, right? Some people are big picture, some people are more detailed, but that's something for you as the leader to assess to who is the detailed, fine tooth type person and who's just the big picture, like splatter on the canvas, paint on the canvas, and just kind of like, this looks good. Okay. And it's like, well, somebody might be like, wait a minute, that line's off, right? This thing is not correct. Let's get in there and really fine, tooth this thing, fine comb this thing. All right. Identify source of both professional and personal growth. This totally gets in the background. Okay. The notion is that if you're on this project, that this is providing you some level of professional development. The fact that you're on the team probably says something about your work ethic, right? Maybe. Might say something about your reputation, might say something about your skill set that you have, but it's typically not a necessary place where you're going to grow per se, right? Because you're there because you already know certain things, right? Now you may learn new things along the way because you have some room to innovate and take risks, right? And you go, oh, what this project calls for something different or calls for this, but I know there's something new on the market. I want to check it out and see if it worked for this project. So you have opportunities, but you have to create those opportunities for your team in a sense that maybe you have a retreat, maybe you have, team building functions, right? Team building activities. Oh, we're all gonna go bowling as a group, right? Or we're all gonna go to this art festival as a group, or we're gonna do something together, right? Because that's how teams are built. The more time you spend with someone, the more that you are likely to put your guard down, the more that you're going to learn more about them and learn how they operate, what, little idiosyncrasies they have, all the little weird stuff they do or they don't do, right? As compared to what you do. And they'll be doing the same thing to you. They'll be kind of assessing and taking an inventory of, okay, how does this person navigate? Is this person very social? Is this person quiet? Does this person drink? Does this person not drink? How does this person eat? How does this person feel as far as being in the public eye with, a group of folks? Is this person, religious, political? All those things, right? You get all those things from activities done together. And of course, if you go through some kind of adversity, right? Adversity builds strong bonds. When people are going through things that are really hard together, right? They tend to get tighter faster, which leads to very open-ended, very violent conflict sometimes, right? Because now at this point, your guard is down. It's like, it's like when you first start dating somebody, right? Is you only show them so much. And then, you know, after a couple months, 6 months or whatever, the shoes come off, you know, the hair comes off, they're throwing towels on the ground, you're like, oh, I didn't know you were like this. All right. You like to eat this and well, no. You don't like dogs, right? All of a sudden, all this stuff starts coming out. The same thing, team building, right? And the conversations you have are a little different because now there's no inhibition. I'm not trying to impress you anymore. Okay. I got you. All right. So that's how teams are. You're not going anywhere. I got you. So you might as well be honest, right? We don't want to get into a shouting match, but at the same time, they're pretty candid about what's going on. Okay. So you you try your best to make sure that you're upfront, you try to build with your team as quickly as possible. Right. So here we have the 5-stage team development model. And this model is as old as I don't know. It's been around for a long, long time. Okay, since I started college back in '91. Okay, it is before then. I know it's a long time. I know they long time. Okay, um, but there's 5 stages to it, right? And these 5 stages are very reminiscent of of our everyday relationships. To tell you the truth, right? So the first step is forming. Okay, and forming is just hey, you come together, you get an idea of what the project's about. You get to see everybody in the room. You're like, okay, cool. All right, I know Joey from, whatever, IT, and I don't know her, and da, da, da. Okay, whatever. And everybody just listening to the project manager, right? The next step is storming, all right? Now we are kind of understanding the project, and then we start to have different approaches of how we're going to do the project, right? Or different ways, right? And so now it's like, oh, we have to do this. Well, I was thinking we would do it this way. And then somebody goes like, I don't really like that. I was thinking about, how about this way? And that's when you go, no, that way is stupid, right? Probably not the best choice of words, okay? And that person takes offense to it. And now it's like, we got problems, okay? You could have said that a different way. You'd have to call me stupid, or you'd have to call the idea stupid, right? And it depends who you're dealing with. Some people would just brush that off, like, no, they think about it. Listen, right? Other people will be like, I felt disrespected, da da da, listen to what I'm telling you, da da. Let's lay out the pros and cons of each of the approaches or the ideas and then see which one makes more sense, and we'll come to a consensus group, right? A majority vote on that, right? But this is where you have this conflict, right? Because people are still getting to know each other. They're still trying to figure out how we work, right? How you do things. And if depending on how many groups you've been in thus far, you notice that every group is different, right? It is based on the people that you work with. Some folks, right? This is why I always tell you guys, check the work. If someone is in your group, say, look, I'll take care of it, that's cool. But I need to see it before you submit it. Okay? Because your standards may not be the same as mine. All right. You might not care about spaces between the paragraphs or lack of citing. You might not care about your A. All right. You're okay with a C or a B plus. All right. And there's students like that. All right. Where you on the other hand are like, oh no, I need my A. Right. Matter of fact, I need A plus. So yeah, this is cool, but we need to fix a few things, right? So you always should inspect what you expect. Okay. Never leave work or things to just, take people's word. Okay. You trust, but you verify. Okay. You always check up because you don't forget, this is your name on the line. This is your reputation on the line. This is your thing. All right. This is what people are going to attach to you, associate to you. So you want to make sure that it's representing you the way you want it to be you want to be represented. Okay. All right. The next step is norming. Okay. This is where we kind of get into our basic, pace, right? Now we're just kind of in the lull of it. We're kind of in the boring part, right? We kind of like started this way, and now we kind of plateaued. We're flat now. Okay. If you think of it as a curve, right? You go up and then you kind of flat, right? It's uniform. And then we're just island by, we're just doing our thing, right? Everybody's kind of knows who's who not to mess with, who to talk to when you need this and that, right? So we're just kind of going, right? And we're getting tighter. Some people are getting tired of little cliques and stuff forming, right? There's certain people that have to work more with other people, and so they form a tighter bond, that kind of thing, right? And so you get more of an exchange of ideas, and we start talking about, a lot of different things, and no one is, fearful of, some kind of consequence for saying what they want to say. All right, we just sit in the class. Like, it's week 6 now. Okay, I'm expecting that if you have something to say to me, you're gonna say it, right? You're not. It's not like week 1, right? There's a big difference from week 1 and week 6. Week 1, you guys were like, "Dad, quiet, don't say nothing," right? Week 6, Daisy's coming in, she's laughing, and you could stealing candy. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's chill, relax, right? We're in a normal rhythm, a normal pace. Right now, we're like, okay, cool, everything's good. Okay. Then we have the performing stage, okay, where we really start to get towards the end of the project, where we've come up with our approach, we come with our design, we've, implemented things, we've actually started putting the solution together, whatever it is, product, good, or service. And people's specific skill sets really start to shine, because now you see, okay, oh, this is why we needed Bob on this thing, because he's going to build the interface, right? Or, he's going to build the pipeline, or he's going to be, she's going to be doing the coding and the data analytics, or the visualization, or whatever it is they're doing, right? This is where you start to see people's individuals, and your own, where you are doing your part for the project. And then once that's done, you get your final product, good or service done. You deliver it. The project manager will deliver it to the client, and the client will go, okay, I like it, I don't like it, I want to tweak it, whatever the case may be. All right. And then once that gets to the point where the client is happy and you deliver the product and the project is actually coming to a conclusion, right? The next step is adjourning. Right. And basically we're breaking up, we're done. We've attained our goal. We hit our goal. We attained our mission, right? And so now I'm sending you back to where you came from. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you for the hard work, successful project, and next time I'm going to request you again if we have something that I think that fits you, because I know you've proven yourself as a reliable, value added member of this project. Right. And so people adjourn, and then they go back to their day jobs, right? Their regular stuff, and just that, right? And normally you won't jump into, as a team member, you won't jump from one project to the next. You typically get a break. Um, but as a project manager, that's your job. You're gonna jump from one project just to another one. That's why it's gonna be different. It's a whole learning curve, and you gotta figure it all out. Okay. All right. Situational. What does that say? Situational something. Oh, situational factors affecting team development. All right. All right. So, uh, so typically, the bigger the team, the harder or less successful they are. All right. And why do you guys think that's the case? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. You're probably right. I mean, there's a number of reasons, but give me what. Give me one of yours. The bigger the team, usually the less productive or less efficient they are. But why is that?
I think it's because, let me try to explain my own words. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
think, when there are a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
someone will be like, oh, if I don't do it, he will do it. So I wouldn't do it. And
Gotcha.
maybe the other person too will be like, maybe this one will do it. And
Okay.
they don't end up doing the job.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think, yes, that's it.
Okay. What would that be classified as? What would you put? What box would you put that in? Why do you think that would happen? You can jump into my ego if you think you as to what no as to what Daisy just said, right? What is that? What would you consider that? What kind of problem you think that would be?
No communication.
No communication. Okay, that's a communication problem. We're not talking, right? We're not sitting down exchanging ideas and thoughts. We're basically siloed, right? I'm working on my little thing here. You're working a little thing here. We're doing the same thing. Redundancy, right? Instead of talking to each other and collaborating and using the resources in a shared way in which we can get to the same goal, right? Because we're trying to do the same thing. And so usually it's the communication. So that's one reason. Okay. What else? Why are bigger teams like successful?
Well, I was going to say that everybody has their own way of doing things and it doesn't like always be on the same page.
Okay. Yeah, this is true. Okay. Everybody's got a different page, different approach. And if you don't bring them together, they'll keep going down the path that they're most comfortable with, right? Okay. The other thing that, makes it hard when the bigger the team is that as the project manager, as the leader, right? It's hard to really see everybody, right? To get around and like talk to everybody, get to know them on a real, very personal basis. Some people just kind of get lost in the shuffle because they're quiet and they're shy and don't really step out, or they know what they're doing and they don't really need any direction. So you don't get to talk to them, right? Um, that's one reason. Uh, the other reason is that you may have the people, but you may not have the resources, or you may not have enough for them to do. So, and depending on which part of the project they're in, sometimes you'll have a team that's so big that it's like, okay, there's 5 people on the team, but it's only 3 people's worth of work. So what do they do the other two, right? What are they doing, right? So they get a little bit of work. Everybody gets a little bit of work, right? And it's like, okay, I'm wasting the resources here. Right? Either I send them back or I find more stuff for them to do, right? Right. And so, you try to keep it says 10 or fewer. But 10 is a lot, it's still a lot of people to manage, right? Depending on the project. But but you want to try to keep it as close as possible, small as possible, because the smaller it is, the more ability you have to, get to know the people, right? Just like this class, only 2 of you guys are here, so it gives me more of an opportunity to give you more attention, right? Whether you like that or not is irrelevant, right? But if there were more people in here, then I might not know you guys as well, right? Might not get to know your personalities that well. And you guys may not necessarily be more as vocal or as open or more as comfortable, right? So there'll be more people. I may be paying attention to other people here and that person there, and you may have somebody. There's always one person who likes attention. Okay, there's always one. All right, not within this group. I'm just saying, the larger the group, more likely you're gonna have somebody who's all about me, 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 me. Look at me, ha ha ha. All right. So that person needs a lot of attention, a lot of love. Okay. If you um are a very good performer and you kind of are like what we call kind of fire and forget, like I don't need to give you much direction. You know what you need to do. You're good at it. I give it to you. I know it's done. Right. And so um you get a few people like that on the team, but most instances you get people that you have to kind of be on all the time. And so, depending on how much time you have, again, the larger the team, the harder it is for me to get to everyone's work. Right. And so I may need help in, kind of grading work. All right. The bigger the class, the longer it takes me to grade. right? And the less detail I can provide because I'm trying to get through everybody's thing in a timely manner so that they can get the feedback to incorporate into the next thing, right? And so I may miss a few things. I may be very general in what I'm saying as far as feedback, and it may not be enough for you to really understand, like, okay, what is it that I'm doing wrong, or what is it that we're trying to get to here, right? Another condition is members volunteer to serve on the project. Nothing better than having volunteers that want to work on projects. Okay. If you have to go snatch somebody against their will and their boss says, hey, I need you to go on this project, right? More like voluntold. Right? You guys ever heard that term before? Voluntold? Voluntold, okay? It's a big term in the military. You get voluntold. Okay. Would you like to go here? There's only one answer. Yes. Okay, there's no, it's the answer. The question is not so you actually make a decision. It's not a democratic decision. It's a very rhetorical question. Would you like to go? There's only one answer. We already signed you up, so I'm just giving you a heads up that you need to pack. That's it. Okay? Huh? Right. No matter, right? And so you get volunteers. That's great because volunteers they want to be there. They're going in eyes wide open, and they're also going with a different level of energy and motivation and commitment because that's what they want to do. They chose to be here, right? When you choose to be, or you get people that want to be where you're at and want to be on a project, you'll see the huge difference in what they deliver to you by someone who's been voluntold or forced to be on the project and they really don't want to be there, that kind of thing. They have other things going on. Maybe they do want to be there, but it's not a good time in their life. It's a bunch of stuff, right? So volunteering always helps to, really have a good, strong team. Members serving a project from beginning to end, right? This is something that really is about the project manager and, kind of the load of the person or the people on the team. Ideally, you want to have your team members from the start all the way to the end, and you want to have them, involved in every process, even if there's just a FYI, right? Just so they know, okay, this is where we're at. And then that way they have an idea about when is their part coming up, or can they help in some kind of way, right? And assist in helping us move along, right? But that doesn't always work because sometimes wherever department they're coming from, they say, look, um, they still got to do their job. It's critical. So you can have that person in March. Okay. Or you can have that person every other week or something like that, right? But you'd like them to be from beginning to end, right? Throughout the whole process. And it could be just on an intermittent basis where like, hey, yes, they're from beginning to end, but they're only every other week or 3 days a week. They're on the project, 2 days they're doing their regular job, right? Because what you don't want is someone coming in the middle of the project that has to kind of get up on this learning curve to figure out, okay, what is the project about? What are we doing? What is my part in this? How, I don't understand why you did this, right? When you give people kind of context or background as to why you make decisions and why we're doing certain things, it's more helpful because then they feel like, okay, they understand what's going on and they feel like they're part of the process, which is really the biggest thing is to make people feel like you're part of the process, your value, your contribution, your input matters, right? And so, you get that if you start from the beginning with the same team, the same group of people, and you finish with them, right? It's kind of like having a trade mid-season on a team, right? Imagine the Padres were like, oh, we're gonna bring somebody in new right now, right? In the middle of playoffs. It'd be like, that's not that this is not the time to be checking out the chemistry right now. All right. And seeing how things work. We're in the playoffs, you know, we're doing well. We won last night. We just let's leave it the way it is and we'll rock with it and not change anything. And then once the playoffs are done, if we get to the World Series or then whatever, whatever's next, right? If we get there, then cool, we need to make some changes and tweaks. We may do that, but more likely not. Okay, because we gotten this far with this group of folks, we're just gonna keep going to the end. Okay, and then after that, once the season is over, whether we won the series or not, the World Series or not, we'll make some changes then. Okay, but typically you like to have your team put together, build that team cohesion from the very beginning all the way to the end. And you want to keep them, together and kind of build that synergy. All right, members are assigned to the project full time. Yes, that's helpful, but more likely not going to be the case. Okay, depends on the job market, depend on that different projects or different activities that the company's doing, depends on what the person's job is, right? The person's a finance person, they're not just gonna be managing your budget. They probably have 4, 5, 6, 7 other budgets they're managing for different projects. And so you're not gonna get them full time. Usually the only full-time person that's on the project is the project manager. Okay, everybody else is kind of like as needed. We'll have meetings, and I'll try my best to fit the meetings to where majority of folks can come, but not everyone's gonna be able to make it. All right, because there's always some conflict, conflicting meetings, conflicting just life events, just conflicting things. Right, and so I'm doing my best to get most of the folks there, um avoiding the weekends. Of course, we don't want to get the weekends in there, right? But sometimes you got to bring people in on the weekends, right? Because that's the only time where I know I will get dedicated time from you, because you're not here for nothing else for just me, right? In this project. All right. Members are part of an organizational culture that fosters cooperation and trust. All right, so um you may not have this in the overall organization, but you can build this within your team. Okay. And so if you have an open door policy, or if you make sure that people understand, like, hey, this is a safe place, no judgment, you can say what you want to say, right? One of the first things on the first day when we come to class, the first thing I say is like, look, we're gonna have some conversations about things that may be uncomfortable. Politics, religion, all this other stuff that people tell you not to talk about. But it's never personal. Okay. It's business. It's a learning, right? And so when you came in here as friends, or at least associates or acquaintances, you're gonna live here as friends, associate acquaintances. You're not gonna live here as enemies and plotting and scheming about, you know, slashing tires or whatever it is that you're gonna do. Okay? We're not coming to blows. All right, we're not fighting each other. This is not whatever show, MTV Cribs or Real Housewives of San Diego or whatever it is, right? We're not fighting each other like that. Okay, we come in. Sometimes we're gonna just have a clash. It's okay. Okay, it's okay, because that stirs ideas, that stirs innovation. We want devil's advocates. We want people to question decisions, right, when necessary, because that way we make sure that we've answered all the questions as to why this would fail. Okay, we don't ask why would this be successful. What are the positives? We want to know what the cons are, right? Because the positives are going to happen. Good stuff's going to happen, right? Bad stuff is what we want to know. Okay, what's the bad stuff that can happen? Because that's what I need to plan for. The good stuff, I great. But the bad stuff, I need to plan for that, because I need to know what I need to do, right? So we want to make sure that we have open communication. We build trust amongst each other. We're not backstabbing each other. We're not talking behind each other's back, but that's inevitable, right? Really hard to get around that, because that's just human nature. People like to gossip. People like to just not be confrontational. They rather talk to somebody else and say, I don't really like Jim. He's a butthole, or he's stupid, or he's something, right? And you're like, and poor Jim, he thinks you love him and you don't even like him, right? And so you gotta kind of be able to be okay with that, right? Members report solely to the project manager. Again, not gonna happen. Okay. Very rarely does that happen. Right. Most project members have a regular job and they report to their supervisor and report to the project manager. And the project manager typically takes the back seat depending on the priority of the project, right? How important it is to the company, where it is in the timeline, how far advanced it is, all this other stuff, right? But usually not gonna happen. But if you can get it, it definitely contributes to, a very high functioning team because everybody's reporting to the project manager. The project manager controls everybody's schedule, right? Work schedule as far as like what we need to do. And so it's helpful and it makes it more efficient because I know that I'm not having to plan for this person to be gone 3 hours out of the day or 2 days out of the week doing their regular job. Okay. And when it comes down to evaluations and performance feedback, I can have a very clear, understanding between me and the other person. Like, hey, you're reporting to me, and I'm going to be doing your evaluation for this particular period in your, time. So that will give the person some direction as to, okay, where do I need to focus my energies and to really like show the project manager like I'm doing a great job, right? Because they know, hey, I'm reporting directly to this person, and that makes a huge difference. All relevant functional areas are represented on the team. All right. Yeah, that's been somewhat of a given. You will have people that are shared, resources that will serve at general purpose, and they serve at general purpose for the whole company. You're not gonna get the corporate lawyer on the project team. Okay, that person is gonna be like, hey, we have a legal issue, send it to the corporate lawyer and see what they say, right? Send it to legal. Okay, see what they say. You're not gonna have a whole lawyer just for your project, right? Unless it's a law firm, all right, or something to that effect. But you're not gonna have a whole lawyer on the project, just for your project. It's not gonna happen. Okay, so, you will have a representation of all the functional areas, right? For the most part, right? You have somebody from marketing, maybe. You definitely have somebody from IT, maybe HR, right? Operations, um, communications, marketing, you'll have those people, and then you'll have them at different stages. But again, depending on what the project is, the resources available, the budget, all this stuff comes into play as far as having all the functional areas kind of covered, right? As long as they're covered when you need them, or there's someone that is versed enough that they can handle that particular aspect of the project, you should be good, right? Um, the point is that as a project manager is to not complaining about what you don't have, is to look at what you do have and seeing how you could stretch it. How can I maximize it, right? You may have to take on some responsibilities. Aside from PM, you may have the dual hat and say, you know what, I'm also an engineer, right? But I'm the project manager role. So I can do both. I can look at the schematic and figure out, okay, what it is, what the load is, and whatever. Cool. And then that's done. So I don't need anybody from engineering. Or if I do have someone from engineering, I can kind of take the load off of their work. Like, hey, I'll take care of that. All right, boom, boom, boom. And then I may give it back to them and say, look, check my numbers, check my work, right? Make sure it's good. Okay. Is this how you would do it? Or do you have a better way? Or these numbers off? What do you think? Right. That way you can keep them kind of in, but also, you kind of alleviate some of the work for them by doing it yourself if you're capable of doing it. Right. You want to ideally have a project manager who's somewhat exposed to whatever project it is you're doing, whatever the core of the project is, right? If it's a construction project, you kind of want somebody that understands construction, right? To a certain degree, right? If it's a, I don't know, medical facilities project, or one of my friends, he automates warehouses, right? You want somebody who understands warehouses, who understands supply inventory control, supply distribution, logistics, someone who understands the mechanics of that, how that goes, right? What's the pipeline? What's the, from starting to end, right? What role does the manufacturer play? What role does the shipping and freight play? What role does the end customer play, right? You want somebody that understands that, but you may not always get that person, right? You may get somebody who's, I don't know, a doctor and they just got stuck as the project manager for this new, medical system, medical device that they don't necessarily use all the time, but they understand what it does and they understand medicine in general. So you'll have that person kind of be in charge and understand, okay, what needs to happen. The project involves a compelling objective. This one is 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 relative, okay? Just because it's compelling to the organization doesn't mean it's compelling to me. All right. It might be interesting to you, but you could care less. Someone else could care less, right? But this is an AI project. I love AI. I love coding. I love all that stuff, right? But do you guys like AI? You like computer vision, you like coding, you like Python, you like TensorFlow, you like neural networks. No, you guys are like, I don't know what you're talking about, Dr. K. So keep it moving. All right. Exactly, right? No idea, right? So you're like, yeah, that's cool and everything. What's he gonna do at the end? Oh, I'm gonna be able to do this. Okay, cool. All right, but it's not my thing, that all this other stuff. Yeah, I just want to get to the end of it, right? It's a filter, or it does this, or it's gonna cook me breakfast. Oh yeah, cool. I'm good with that, right? But the minutia, the actual making, we call making of the sausage, right? Everybody likes sausage, but nobody wants to see how it gets made, right? Anybody ever seen sausage get made? Exactly. No, you never seen sausage get made? It's not pretty. It tastes good, but it's not pretty. Okay? So nobody wants to see how the sausage is being made. Oh, you don't eat sausage? Yeah, oh, you've seen it. Well, that didn't stop me. Okay. I like sausage, yeah. Yeah, yep. Doesn't bother me. Like, this is the way of the world, okay? Just like, mm-hmm.
I just don't like the taste of it.
Yeah, that's fine. No, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Everything not for everybody. All right. So you may not necessarily care about the middle part. You care about the front, you care at the end or the back end, but you don't care about the middle. Like, I don't care how they make this. I just want to get to it. Okay. So I just want to, I don't find it compelling. Right. But the objective is really what you want to try to make kind of the high point. Like, yes, you may not necessarily understand everything that's going on, but it's a great project because it's going to help the company do XYZ. We're going to be able to offer people such and such, right? And it's going to come out to this product, all right? And people will be able to just, I don't know, do whatever they want with it, okay? But you try to make it as compelling and as interesting to people as possible, okay? So they can get excited about the project, and hopefully you're excited about the project as the PM also, right? Members are located within conversational distance of each other, right? So this might um this might be possible, especially nowadays because we have telework, virtual teams, we're global, right? It's back in the day, this was easier, something that was easily done. Nowadays, it's harder, right? Just this class is 5 or 6 people in this class, but you two are the only ones that actually come to class, all right? The other ones are online, right? It's hard for me to work with those folks because I don't see them. I don't talk to them. They don't email me. I don't email them because I don't need to, all right? Um, but our relationship is different, all right? If I walk by them on the street, I probably wouldn't recognize them. I just walk by them. If I saw one of you guys on the street, I'd wave, and then I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna leave you alone. I'm not gonna come over there and embarrass you. I'm out of here. I'm just gonna wave. It's just me, and I'm gonna skedaddle the other way. All right. So sometimes it's hard to get the team to physically be there, right? And so that adds another dimension to the management piece of it, the leadership piece of it when you have virtual teams, where you have people that are dispersed geographically. All right. You can't, it's harder to build a team that way because if everything is done over email or text, it's hard for you to build a relationship with that person, right? Because you're not gonna have idle chit chat while while you're on the email. Right? You're not gonna be like, hey, what's up? What's going on? How I like those shoes. You can see my shoes? Like, no, I just said I like your shoes. Just cause. I'm just trying to start a conversation. Like, all right, well, that's creepy. Right? So, but we're sitting here, right? I can be talk about your shoes. I could talk about, baseball. We can talk about dogs. We can talk about, military life, whatever the case may be. But we're here physically together, and so that gives us a added dimensional layer to our relationship, and a certain amount of familiarity that I don't have with some of the other students that are online that I don't get to talk to on a regular basis, right? And same thing with team. You want to try to keep it as proximate as possible, physically with the team, right? And not have people that are all over the place, and you got to kind of figure out, okay, how do I get everybody in to a space that they're together? Because you got to remember, we didn't have Zoom 15, 20 years ago. There was no such thing. We had VTC, right? But not everybody had VTC capability. VTC, video teleconferencing, was something that was only done at the highest levels because you need a room, and you need people to understand the systems, and everybody would have to come into the room, and everybody would sit down, and then somebody would be talking, and at one point only one person could talk at a time, right? And then we got it to a point where you could see everybody on the side, kind of like Zoom. You could see everybody on the side, and people could talk at the same time, or you'd have to press a button. There's different ways of doing it, right? But and depending on the size of the company, you still have that, right? When I worked at Toyota, we had virtual teams. And we had a room that we would go into to do virtual teams meeting with people in India. And so it was very unique in the sense that there was this big old table like a boardroom, and then we used chairs. But each chair was like a airplane chair. You know how sometimes you go to the airplane and there's the TV in the headrest? That's how it was. And the person's face would pop up on the screen, but it looked like they were sitting in the chair, sort of, right? And so it's like you're talking to the chair, no one's really there, but there's a screen with a head and the person's talking to you, right? So it kind of gave you a feel of like, oh, okay, the person's kind of here, but they weren't. Um, and again, you get opportunity to really talk and chit chat because a lot of things happen in meetings, right? People say stuff that other people don't agree with, and you get to speak, right? But it's different when we're physically all in the same place. Where after the meeting, I can go, "Hey, can I talk to you in your office, or I'm gonna come by later on and chit chat with you, or whatever the case may be." Right? There's a different nuance to that. There's different, benefits to having someone there. So again, if you can make it happen, great. If you can't, that's okay. You gotta do what you gotta do. All right. Building. What time is it? 3:37. Okay, we still got a little time. All right. Building high performance project teams, right? Recruit team members, okay? And when you're doing so, you're gonna conduct project meetings, establish team norms, establish team identity, shared vision, reward system, decision making, conflict management, rejuvenate the project team, okay? And then that's gonna lead to superior performance. Okay, not true. Okay. Um, what's critical is that all these things are done well, okay? If they're done at all, right? There, there's a huge distinction about project managers, right? Notice this project manager. It doesn't say project leader. It's a project manager, right? So I'm still a manager in the sense that I'm trying to get you to do something, but I also need to be a leader in creating this environment, this culture say managing the work, but their job is not really to build this team cohesion. It's not to, motivate you per se. It should be, right? If you're the team lead or you're the manager, well, team lead, that's more of a leader. If you're the manager, in my opinion, you should be manager slash leader. You should be motivating the folks that work for you to perform well, right? And some managers try, but a lot of managers, right? They're not great managers, okay? They're not great leaders, right? And why do you think a lot of people aren't great managers? Mm-hmm. Was that? Say that again? They have the skill, okay. Yeah. Why are they afraid to lead though?
Because the good leaders, they're not good managers.
They're not good managers. They're not good leaders either. But why is that? It's along the lines of what you're saying, Mayuga, but typically is it something um that's pretty common amongst bad managers? Not pretty common, but it's just something that really is prevalent and relevant when it comes to bad management. Think of it from a personality driven standpoint.
They're not good role models.
Okay, yeah, maybe, yeah, they're not good role models. Okay. I'm trying to think of a better way to state this. Um, so a lot of times managers behave the way they behave because they're insecure, right? They're afraid that you know more than they do. And so in order to make sure that doesn't like come to light to anyone else, they become micromanagers. They're watching everything you do. They're telling you what to do, right? Because they want to seem like they know what's going on, right? Instead of just sitting back and letting you do your thing, right? Because you're the manager. Your job is to manage the people and let them shine, right? No one's coming for your job, which is the issue at hand, right? They're afraid that they're gonna lose their job because somebody on their team looks better than they do, right? It's performing better than they do. But you gotta think about if you let your people perform and they do a great job, right? That makes you look good because you understood what was going on as far as skill set and this person's ability to let them just go, right? And so it's kind of like a coach sometimes. Sometimes you'll have a player on the team who's exceptional, right? But you don't want them to kind of overtake the team. So you got to kind of, keep them in a box sometimes, right? But the best thing really for the team is to let that person loose and then build everything else around that person. Right? That's why you have franchise players. You have, Michael Jordan or LeBron, right? Because they're so exceptional in what they do. Messi or Ronaldo, these kind of guys, right? Or even like Warren Buffett or Bill Gates. You just kind of let them go do their thing, and then you build everything else around them, sort of, right? Because they're so exceptional. But managers at time get very insecure, right? And they start to micromanage and they start to become more worried about their job security than they are about doing the job, right? And so you have these moments where, people will, there's one of the sayings about people don't leave jobs, they leave managers, right? People don't leave work, they leave people, right? Because they just are getting either micromanaged or they're not really understanding where this person is kind of leading them to, right? And they're not growing, right? Most people, if they're not growing, they're not developing, they usually start looking for something else, right? Because they're like, what am I getting from the company? What am I getting from you, right? I had the same knowledge from when I started to now, right? You didn't teach me anything. You haven't taught me anything. I haven't learned anything new, right? Whether you taught me that or you sent me to school to learn something new, you haven't done that either, right? Because again, me as a manager, I may be nervous about you picking up extra skill sets that may allow you to supersede me, allow you to hop me, right? Which this just the way of the world, right? You got to be able to, one rule I always have is I always want to see the people that work for me be higher than me. When I see you next time, I need to be on the same level as me or higher. That way I know I contributed to your success, right? Because you're gonna do that for someone else, right? It's not a one-way street, it's a two-way street. Right. And so if I help you develop and grow, you're gonna know that and you're gonna remember, like, hell, Dr. Case helped me do this and do that. I couldn't done it without them. Are you better than me now? Yeah, sure. You might know more than me and all this other stuff. Cool. But that's kind of like what I want, right? Because someone has to carry on the knowledge. All right. So I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna give it to you. And if you have any questions or you hit roadblocks, you come talk to me and I'll say, okay, well, in my experience, this is the way I've done it, right? You may be like, oh, okay, got it. And you're taking like, you know what? I know that's what Dr. K said to do it this way, but there's some new stuff out there. Let me innovate it. And then you innovate and you bring it back. Like Dr. K, I took your suggestion, but I just kind of revised it a little bit. I look at it and go, huh? Never thought of it that way. Pretty cool. All right, let's go. Let's keep moving, right? You're progressing, you're growing, I'm growing, right? And so we're both developing, and the team has gotten better for it, and the organization is benefiting from it also, right? And so management is a very tricky thing, in a sense that you have to kind of check your ego at the door, right? And not be worried about your job security, that kind of thing, which happens a lot of times. It just kind of seeps in. And unfortunately, if you don't have someone strong or someone who's not worried about moving up, sort of, and nothing wrong. You want to move up. You want to get promoted, all right? But not at the cost of stepping on other people, all right? Or you just leaving people behind and just taking advantage of them, and then boom, I'm done with you. You served your purpose. I'm gonna keep you down here, but I'm moving up. Okay. I think I have my thing out here. 346. Okay, let's take 15 minutes and then come back at 4. And we'll keep going. All right, move on. All right, so let's look at recruiting project members, okay? So some of the things that uh affect recruiting, right? And not necessarily the fact that you're gonna get um like you're not gonna walk into a room and they're gonna be like, hey, just pick whoever you want, right? You're basically gonna be given a team. Now, ideally, you'd like to be able to pick who you want, but it doesn't always work that way, right? One of the criteria factors that they're gonna look at is the importance of the project, right? What on what tier or what level is the project um importance, where does it reside at based on the organizational objectives, right? If it's a very high profile project that's going to be very impactful for the whole organization, then they may very well give you the best of the best, right? Because it's such a big project, or it's a huge government project that is going to usher in the future of our sales and what we do, right? Also the structure as far as the management style that you're going to use as the PM, or even it may be dictated to you by your boss or by whoever is commissioning the project. And so all those things play a role in how you recruit, right? But for the most part, recruiting is very limited. They might give you some opportunity to recruit certain specific positions, or they may say, look, you get to pick, 3 people, right? So pick 3 people and we'll pick the rest of the team based on availability. It really boils down to that. It's really about availability and the skill sets that the person has or the team has that bring what they bring to the table. Um, that will really trying to figure out, okay, how do I recruit or how do I bring these people on? Sometimes you'll get a person on the team because that person is a problem person for the manager or for people that they work for. Right? It's kind of like, oh, you know what? You can keep Bob. Okay. Take Bob. Take Mary. Okay. And it's just kind of like, get them out my hair. We got someplace to go. Now they're your problem. Okay. Those people typically don't always work out very well because they're a problem for a reason. Okay. And so now you have to deal with somebody that you don't know, who probably doesn't want to be there, already has an attitude, and is probably not the most um, skilled person, right? And that's not to say that's how they all are, but in my experience, whenever it's somebody like that they're trying to get rid of, they tend not to be the most productive or most value added person. So I will go back to the supervisor and say, look, the person you gave me, I'm sure they're fine, but um, they don't want to be there, and I feel like that they have an attitude or an issue already that is resident with your department. So can I have someone else? All right, and it's up to the manager to say yes or no, and you may have to go above their head, be like, look, I need this person because they're very proficient, and we need somebody proficient on this. I don't need the new person that came in, the intern or the junior executive that just graduated from college and is now part of the project. They don't know anything, right? Nothing against undergrad, nothing against a bachelor's degree, but you don't know anything. You just got here last week. You don't know anything about the company. You don't even know where the bathrooms are at. Okay. And so I don't necessarily need that person on my team unless that person is exceptional and just some kind of super genius and kind of works out that, right? Um, so some of the things that you want to consider: problem solving ability, okay? But you won't unless that person has been in the company for a long time and you are familiar with them, you won't know whether or not they have problem solving ability. It's just not something you just have to take the word of the manager wherever you get, right? Availability, as I said before, is usually the driving factor. Like who's available? Who can I spare that's not going to be a detriment to what I have going on in my department. That's not going to cause me more work as a manager, right? Because the last thing the manager wants is to have to do somebody else's job, all right? That's why I have a team. I don't want to do the team member's job because they work on this project, right? But that's what's gonna happen either way, right? Technological expertise, that always helps depending again on what the project is, right? But we always like tech savvy folks or folks that understand the importance of the ability to leverage technology in order to, help us facilitate the project, all right? Credibility, all right, it's a big one. Again, does this person have a reputation, right? Can I trust this person? Is this person, is everybody like, oh, Jim's on the team? Great. All right. Whenever you see other people on the team, they're like, yeah, that guy's a handful. You never work with him, but I have. Or, hey, Mary's on the team. Like, oh, that is amazing. That's what I'm talking about. This is gonna be a really good project if Mary's on it, right? So your credibility, your reputation precedes you, as you start to get put on these projects. And the more and more projects you get put on, the more and more that says about probably you and your skill level, right? Because people are asking for you typically, or you know, team or the manager sees you as a valuable asset for the organization, and so they may be like, "Hey, by name, I need this person on the team." Right? I don't care what's going on elsewhere, but when you want this project to be successful, this person has to be on the team because they have a different understanding of it, about the issues that we really are tackling. So we need to make sure that they have their input, and can help us get to where we need to get to. Right? Political connections. All right, this should be on the bottom of the dang tier. Okay, don't worry about the connection the person has. Right? Um, that's something that maybe the senior level executives worry about because they're more into relationship building and the business development. But political connections, um, they're not the best way to recruit your team. Okay, because when you think of political connections, what do you think of? What do you think is going to happen? What do you think that some of the things that come with that? Hmm. Hmm. If I'm someone that comes on the team now, I'm connected to the mayor or something. Was that? And then yeah, you kind of do have an advantage, sort of, right? You have connections with somebody who's maybe got a lot of access to resources, the decision making, and a big authority. But when you think about political connections, kind of the first thing you gotta, to me, think about is okay, how is this connected politically? Like, what are the political impacts of this project? If they have someone they put on a team that has political connections, am I going to be getting pressure? Is the mayor going to be calling me talking about what's going on with this project? Is is the mayor going to be tapping into this person so that they can ask me what's going on in this project, right? Is the mayor in his office going to be up, you know, my proverbial skirt, trying to look at the budget and see what I'm doing to try to micromanage me or better manage the project from City Hall, right? All these things are things I have to worry about when it comes to political connections, right? Yes, it's an advantage because I can maybe just go straight to the mayors and be like, hey, I need another $1 million, or I need this skill set, or I need this, or whatever. And they can be like, oh, cool, no problem. Got you, right? But don't forget it's politics, okay? What's in it for me at the end of the day, right? Don't know, right? You have no idea. A lot of a lot of the businesses that we um patronize, and they got to work with the city, right? Let's just take, for instance, the Padres, right? The Padres have to work with the city in order to get Petco the way it is. They have to work with the city in order to keep playing well after midnight if it calls for it, because there's a noise ordinance. All right. Most events are over by 10, 11. At Petco, 11 o'clock. That's it. You can't have anything that goes past that, right? But baseball is an exception, right? What about the vendors that Petco works with, right? Um, hey, are these entities city entities? Are these entities, preferred vendors that we work with? Hey, I know you guys need garbage disposal. I happen to have a good friend of mine here who's a garbage disposal company. Maybe you should give him the contract, right? So all these things kind of come into play when you don't, you're not really thinking about it, but the parking, right? The traffic, the police officers, they need to be out, in overtime because they're working the game, right? Then you gotta worry about the bars and that kind of thing where, okay, that Padres are playing, all these people gonna be out till 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, right? I think the game ended last night, what, like 8:39? Up 8:39. And I'm sure people still went out, right? And so you not only do you have to worry about kind of the consequences of people going out and maybe being inebriated, being drunk from partying and enjoying the game, right? But then now they're getting on the road, they might be a little drunk, right? There might be fights, right? But you also got to think of about the positive is that they're going to all the establishments downtown generating revenue, right? The businesses stay open because some businesses, if it's a weekday and nothing's going on, they'll close early. They say close at 9, you go and they close, it's 8 o'clock, they close because nothing was happening, right? But if there's a game, right, that means that people will be out not only after but before, really, right? Because most times people go to games, the game's at 3, they're down there at 12, right? They're down there at 12. They got to catch parking. We got to get something to eat. We got to get our pre-flight in, all this other stuff. We got to get to our seats. Then another, I got to need time to get my beer, all this stuff, right? So there's stuff happening. There's money happening in the beginning. There's money happening in between. There's money happening at the end, right? Different sets of money. Think about, right, parking and just the whole fact of so many people are going to park illegally, right? Guess what we have to coordinate? Tow trucks, right? You guys ever had your car towed before? How much is it?
It was Saturday night and 380
Yep.
something. And I even had to beg them to keep it that night because they said on weekends you don't
Right.
have
You
your car,
don't
you
pick.
have to do it on Monday.
Yeah, you
And I
pay
had
on
to
Monday.
beg
Yeah.
and beg them.
Yeah. Towing is one of those things, right? It's annoying, right? But you are basically making money for somebody else, right? Because you decide to park someplace that you shouldn't park, right? Right. And usually it'd probably be fine, except for the fact that it's game day, right? And they count on that revenue,
Oh,
right? Don't think they don't count for the revenue, right? They like on an average week, right? So think about the impact of something like the Padres playoffs, right? That generates like millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars for the city because so much activity going on and all the things that are associated with that activity, right? Need to happen, right? And people are getting paid to do those things, whether it be good or bad or to your advantage or not to your advantage, right? Towing is to no one's advantage except for the tow company. Okay, because guess what? As soon as they tow your car, someone else is gonna come do the same thing, and they're gonna tow them. Okay, that's how it works. All right, we're gonna tow you, get you out of there. Right, boom. Have you guys been to the Lafayette Hotel? Okay, huh? It's in University Heights. It's a it's a hotel, but it has like a bar, a bowling alley. It's a really cool place. You should go check it out. But it's a hotel. It's a historical hotel. It's been around since the late 20s, early 30s. Another company bought it. The company that owns Born and Raised and Raised by Wolves and Underbelly maybe. They bought the Lafayette and they renovated it, $38 million. And now it's this whole party place, Friday, Saturday. It's bananas, right? And it's a hotel. And they have a 24-hour diner also. Okay. But what I've noticed, right, which I didn't see happening when they first opened, right? And they've been open for a couple of years now. I noticed this recently that there's a guy in the parking lot. There's a McDonald's right next to it. And then McDonald's has a parking lot. And there's do not park signs in. Do not park. This is McDonald's parking. It's not parking for Lafayette or any other business. It's McDonald's parking. There's a guy there, and I saw him one time, and I thought he was just somebody like videoing somebody getting towed, but he's not. He's the lookout guy. So he's just standing in the parking lot, and you think he's just on his phone, minding his business. He's not. He's watching to see if you're parking and where you're going, and then how long you're gone for. All right. If you're gone longer than 10, 15, 20 minutes, and he saw that you were going the direction of the Lafayette Hotel, I got one. Tow truck rolling up. I watched it. I watched it 3 different times. Boom. And he's just standing there, and you don't know. And then when the tow truck comes, he's recording the tow truck. So it looks like he's kind of like doing like a citizen type thing, like he's trying to be helpful. He's not. He's just recording it so that if something happens, they can say, "Hey, we're a tow truck. Legally, we can do this." Because it clearly says do not park, right? This McDonald's parking. You went into Lafayette Hotel. You didn't go to McDonald's. You went to party, right? And so they're snatching cars up. And so to the point where, I used to park in there, and I don't park in it anymore because I'm like, I see him. He's basically like, if you don't sit by your car, if you can park there, but if you leave your car, you better be coming right back. Don't go inside the hotel thinking you're gonna come back out. Your car is gonna be there after a few hours of partying. It's gonna be gone, right? And guess what? He makes his money, right? Because the tow truck is gonna come. Every car that comes is $400, $450, right? Per car. It's part of the business. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, he's working for the tow truck company. Yep. Which McDonald's probably hired, right? Because McDonald's is like, look, this is our parking lot. Even if people aren't using it, right? We don't want people parking because the potential that, especially McDonald's, because they stay open late, right? Right. People gonna stop at McDonald's, right? But if you park your car and someone wants to come in, they can't because there's no parking spots where they should be for the customers, right? And now they gotta go through drive-through. Drive-throughs around the corner, whatever. It's usually easier and quicker to go inside a lot of times, right? But I can't because all the parking spots are taken by people that are at the hotel partying. Right? And the hotel has valet parking, and you have to park around, on the streets, but it's part of the business, right? And so they account for that type of thing, okay? And so you have to understand that, right? Um, Ambition, initiative, and energy. All right. So again, this goes back to really the volunteering piece where you want people that are eager to be part of the project, because you don't have to motivate them. All right. You just got to keep them steady. You have to sustain them. You don't have to get them to that point because you're gonna have people on the team that you need to get to that point where they're excited about the project and then sustain everyone. All right. But having a sense of ambition, having a sense, of seeing who takes the initiative, having some energy about the project helps a lot because then it gets people kind of excited, like, okay, if the project manager's hyped up and excited and is ready to work with me and work and do get this project done, then okay, maybe this project isn't so bad and they're pretty, happy about being part of the project. But that doesn't always work out that way all the time, right? But again, one of the considerations, all right? And then familiarity, right? If we're looking at, the project and saying, look, if I'm gonna build a team, I would like people that are experienced, not only in the subject matter, but maybe experience being on a team, right? Um, it's hard to be on a team when you used to be an individual, right? Think about like individual sports, golf, tennis, all right? When those people team up with other people for doubles or like foursomes and that kind of thing, it's an adjustment for them because when you are just you and you're working on your own thing, you're the boss. You tell yourself when to go, how fast to go, what you shortcuts you're gonna take, what you're not gonna tolerate, right? When you work with other people, you probably, seen in working in groups, it's a little different, right? And so you can't really just do what you want, right? But if you can have people that are familiar with the whole team dynamic and being on a team, that helps because then that helps you kind of manage the team because that person or those people know how to be on the team and they can identify certain areas where it's like this person is going to be a problem. Hey, get on board, or we're going to recommend that you get off the team, right? And as much as that may sound like that's the good thing, it's not, right? No one wants to be kicked off a team and sent back, not for a negative reason, right? If there's just, hey, you know what, we just ended up not needing that person, cool, we had too many, or something happened, that person can't be on the team for other reasons aside from just performance, that's cool. But if it's a performance related or attitude related reason as to why we let this person go, that's not good for the person, right? That's not going to bode well for them at all. Okay. So conducting project meetings, the first project meeting, project kickoff meeting, right? And basically the first meeting is always just to kind of, introduce people to each other and kind of lay out the general groundwork about, okay, what is this project about? Um, you know, why it's important, when's it gonna start, any other questions that they may have as to some of the rules of the rules of the road and how we're gonna proceed and scheduling, stuff like that. Just basic, just general knowledge information about, you know, the agenda, the path forward, what we can and can't do, the rules, those kind of things, right? Same thing we would do in the first day of class, right? We go over the syllabus, kind of I go over some rules about the class, hey, if you're not gonna come to class, email me. If you need to take a phone call, go outside, those kind of things, right? Admin, right? Those are all administrative or housekeeping stuff, right? And so, we kind of, go through that for the first, meeting or so. Okay. And, we try to establish team norms. All right. And team norms are just about, hey, what is our normal rhythm? How do we do what we do? Okay. And how do we get into routine to where everything is somewhat predictable? Right. And the only way you're going to do that is to work with the people on a consistent basis and just kind of start to establish your relationship because you're gonna have a different relationship with everyone. Right? It's not gonna be the same. Some people are gonna be very open to speaking to you and talking to you and very social and personable. Other people are gonna be very shy, closed off. Other people are gonna be obnoxious and don't, necessarily believe in the project, don't like you or don't respect you or just feel like they're on the same level as you for whatever reason, right? It's not that you're not on the same level, it's just that we have different roles. Okay. We are on the same level as far as like being people, right? You, me, we're on the same level, right? I treat you with respect, you treat me with respect. I would never disrespect you because you're a student. That's not, no. All right. But we have a different relationship, instructor student, right? But it's a mutual respect that you understand that I'm conveying information to you and you're here to soak it up. I'm not here to disrespect you as a person. I'm not going to disrespect you as a person. And then, and just have it be strange and awkward and weird and have you feel like I'm demeaning you or just kind of make you feel like less than, right? That's not what you want. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about, hey, respect for the fact that I'm the instructor, it's my classroom, right? Or our classroom, right? And we are having a dialogue. That's what really we're trying to do. We're having a dialogue, and I'm not better than you. I just by chance now, at this point in your career, in your academic career, I'm ahead of you, right? But that's a function of age. That's a function of just thing. You guys were born in 1972. You'd be doing the same thing, right? We'd be on the same level, right? but you guys were born later, way later than that. And so now you're on the same path that I was on, but 20 years ago, all right, 30 years ago, whenever that was, right? And so it's about just, hey, that person's on the path, on the journey to get to where you're at, but doesn't mean that they're less than you, right? And so a lot of people have an issue with that, um, in the sense that they can't really respect the person, and they sometimes they have an issue with being team members with someone that they know that they're senior to, right? So in my department, I'm the senior guy. In your department, you're the junior guy, middle maybe, right? And now when I were on the same team, why would I listen to you or what you have to say? Because you're just a junior guy. Yeah, but we're on the same team, right? This is a totally different thing. This is a project here where I might very well be the expert. I might very well be more valuable than you are, right? So what does that have to do with your position back in your own department? I don't care about that, right? There's nothing to do with it, right? Uh, and so you kind of have to, really keep that in mind. The other thing, at the bottom it says hard work does not get in the way of having fun. All right. I I don't want to discourage you from having fun, but I've yet to be on a project where it's like I'm having fun. Okay, not like that. Right? Yes, I'm having a good time. I enjoy working on challenging things. I enjoy my, teammates, team members, but we're not over here having drinks and hanging out and kicking it and, not during work hours, right? Yeah, we have a good time. We're laid back. We have fun, but it's measured fun, right? It's fun to a certain degree. It's not, we're not here to have fun per se. We want to make it enjoyable, but we got something to do. All right. So let's not be too uptight about it, but let's get it done. All right. Let's be professional about it. Let's have a good time doing it, but don't forget what we're doing here. Okay. Yes. Do jokes happen in the ER? I'm sure the doctors and the nurses joke all day, right? Oh, look at this guy's heart. Oh my goodness, that's a big bullet. Like, oh, he got a bullet in his butt. That's funny, right? Okay, well, give me the scalpel. Let me take it out for the poor dude, right? Patch it up, like stitch it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's moments of levity, but the tone is serious, and we have things to do and professional at it at the same time, right? So I don't want to take, that away from the whole point of, you know, being on a project, being on a team, and like this, it's all business. It is, but it's, there's room for enjoyment, all right, to be enjoyable and to actually like the people you work with, right? Establishing team identity, all right. That's a little harder to do, all right, especially if you have a big team. But the one way that you can do that is to again have team building activities. Okay, that's the fastest way, in my opinion, to do it. All right, you can sit down and talk to each person individually, all right, which I typically would do. I bring each person in individually. I would talk to them, see, where their head is at. Then I would talk to everyone as a group. But then where I really would try to make my money is having team building activities. All right. Oh, we're gonna go on a field trip. And it doesn't have to be work related, just a field trip. We're gonna have a barbecue. We're going to do something, right? And this is where you can inject the fun also. Like, hey, we're all gonna go and we're gonna go to the Padres game as a group. The company has box seats, right? When I was at Toyota, we did that. Toyota had box seats for the Lakers. And they'd be like, hey, who wants to go? This guy, right? All right, come on, Pat, let's go. All right. And so I get to meet other people from different departments, senior leadership, and get to know them. And then people on my team get to know them better. We're hanging out in the box. All the food is free, all the drinks are free. Get to go backstage or go to the locker room sometimes. So it was cool, right? But those were all team building activities, right? I maybe other people didn't notice it, but I knew that right away. Like, this is a team building activity. They're trying to build up team cohesion, right? Even if it's people from different departments, organizationally wise, I just made a new connection, right? And so did the other person. So now if I have a problem, If an issue that I think that person can help me with, I go, hey, John Bob, remember I met you at the game? Like, yeah, pal, how you doing? Okay. I got an issue. Can you help me? Like, come on in. Right. Now I just chill, like, oh, did you catch the game? Like, yeah, but it wasn't the same, like being in the box. Like, and then, okay, what's your issue? What's going on? That's that. All right, well, go do this, and then boom, and then you be good. And then if I hear anything about another game, I'll let you know. Right. So I took care of business, right? But I also had a little fun doing it, right? But when it comes to identity, we having team activities is probably the best way to build an identity. Because then you get to see, especially if you do something that's competitive in nature, you get to see people's attitudes about competition and performance and that kind of thing, right? Because some people don't care about winning. They just like enjoy what they're doing. Other people are very competitive, all right? And so you want to see how they deal with losing. You want to see how they deal with winning. You want to see how they treat other people when they lose, right? And when they win, right? You want to see the people that kind of notice like what their priorities are, right? They don't care about winning, but they do care that people perform well, all right? They don't care about losing, but they don't like to lose, right? So you kind of get to see, and build the team identity, and you get to kind of show the team who you are. So they get an idea of it, like, okay, like Dr. K is like this, right? He's kind of quiet, but he's approachable. He likes to talk to people, he sucks at bowling, but aside from that, he's all right? And then, next time we have another activity, like, okay, I get to know a little bit more about it. Maybe if we do a family thing then, right? Bring your dog and your family to work day, right? For those of us that don't have that don't have families, right? Or don't have dogs at all. I just come by myself. Okay. But show up, you meet everybody's dog, you meet everybody's family, all right? The kids, right? Kids are always a great icebreaker, a great way to, kind of get people to bond because nobody gonna be mad at a cute 3-year-old, right? 6-year-old, maybe, or a terrible 2, I don't know. But those little 6, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, they're hot messes, okay? Just straight terrors. All right. And you can deal with them, you're all right. Okay. And then you're gonna find one that's gonna latch on to you. And they be like, I just got 2 girlfriends. You're like, who are you talking to? Daisy and Yuka, I just got 2 girlfriends. Like, okay. Like, I do they know that? Like, no. They should though. Right. I just spent all this time with them. We hung out, we played tossed the ball, I played with the dogs. We're pretty much 2 girlfriends. I'm pretty sure, right? So stuff like that, right? All team building activities that help really cement the identity and kind of help people really get to know each other, right? Reward systems. All right. So this is one of the major functions of a manager/leader, right? At any opportunity you get to reward your people, especially in public, you should do that. Okay, public acknowledgement, some other, thing that they could get. I don't know, time off or, a different assignment when they're done, right? Upon successful completion of the project. You want to do that, okay? You want to make sure you acknowledge and reward your folks at every opportunity when they do it, when they do something that warrants it. All right. You don't want the reward to become sort of like stale and just kind of like going through the motion. Like, oh, okay, it's your week. You're the employee of the week. All right. We got to pick somebody for employee of the week. No, we don't. Okay. We pick people that are doing work that we find valuable, that's contributing to the success of the project. If there's no one doing that this week, then there's no one doing that this week. Okay. You never admonish in public. If you have something to say, you need to critique someone, you take them behind closed doors and you talk to them and then lay it out like, you could use a couple of techniques, but the technique that's pretty popular now is the sandwich technique. You guys heard the sandwich technique? Okay, so basically bring somebody in, right? I do it to you guys all the time. Okay. You say something good, Then you get to the bad part and you finish it with something good. Okay, that's the sandwich technique. All right. Man, that was a great post. You need to cite more. Overall, great work. See how that works? Those sound familiar to you? All right. Sound familiar? Okay. So you give them the sandwich, right? I picked you up a little bit. I punched you, but I picked you back up. Okay. And now you can go and you can do it again next week. All right. And you're gonna be like, man, Dr. Case punched me, but he also kind of picked me up. All right. He didn't punch me that hard. Okay, I don't want to get punched again. So let me try to do better, right? Which you guys have. You guys responded very well. All right. Practice deciding, right? And now, are you experts? No, but when you see it next time, you're like, oh, Dr. Case used to, harp on this, and we practiced a little bit, and I wasn't too bad at it, and I'm just gonna keep working on it. And when you get to the next level, you be like, citing, that ain't nothing. I know this. All right, I do this all the time. I know it's essential now at this level. I have to cite, right? And so it's important that you go ahead and make sure that you acknowledge people's hard work, right? Because that goes a long way. Let's see. Orchestrating the conflict process. What is this? Decision-making process. All right. Decision-making process is the same across the board. All right. Identify the problem, come up with some solutions, some options, uh, come to consensus on which way we're gonna go, execute, and then follow up, right? Feedback is probably the most important thing because I want to see if it worked, right? If it didn't work, then we need to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, that didn't work. What are some of the options that we need to use? Mhm. All right, conflict, and then we'll wrap it up here. All right, managing dysfunctional conflict. All right, I'm not worried about functional conflict because functional conflict kind of is a good thing and it kind of just happened, right? But we have open dialogue and we are very comfortable in critiquing each other and not taking it personally. Uh, Dysfunctional conflict is really what we want to manage. Okay, um, we want, and the thing about being a manager or being a leader is that you have to be comfortable with conflict. You can't run away from it. You can't try to avoid it. You can't you can't be afraid to fire someone. You can't be afraid to tell somebody, "Hey, come in the office. I need to give you some counseling or a reprimand because of what you did." Right? We need to document this in your record book because you did something that was wrong, right? Or you messed up, or you have some flaws, some weaknesses that you need to work on that are having a detrimental impact on the team, right? On us getting to where we need to get to, right? You can't be late every day. It just not gonna work. You're gonna get fired eventually, right? Because we just can't have you being late every day, right? So first thing is you want to mediate the conflict, right? You want to get in there, kind of be sort of like a referee and like push everybody apart. Okay, everybody sit down, relax. What's the problem? Okay, then you want to arbitrate the conflict. All right, what do you want? What do you want? Okay, let's hash it out. Okay, it's somewhat similar to negotiations that happen, on the highest levels, right? Diplomacy. All right, this is what diplomats do. All right, State Department guys, right? Or what's going on now with United States, Hamas, and Israel, right? They try to negotiate or manage dysfunctional conflict, right? Because it's escalated to the point where now we're using force, right? Because the military is just an extension of the politics. That's all the military is. Like you and I, as presidents or leaders, could not agree. So now we have resorted to, I'm going to physically force you to do what I want. I'm going to pose my will on you, right? I'm not going to let you do that to me. I'm bringing my own people. So now we're going to fight, right? But while we're fighting, we need to be back here talking. So because we don't want the fight, right? We don't want conflict, right? Countries don't want conflict. It's expensive. It's just not good, right? People die, people get hurt, it's traumatic. It's just not good for anybody when there's conflict. Okay. And so there's armed conflict, I should say, right? Conflict is okay as long as you can mediate it, arbitrate it, control the conflict, right? We're not gonna let it get out of hand, right? Let's keep it contained, right? And deal with it here. A lot of times people have a tendency to say, I don't like the fact that you did this. Well, I don't like the fact that you did that. Stay focused on what it is I brought up to you as the conflict. Don't bring up something from last week that you were upset about, that you didn't say anything about, but now you want to bring it up because I brought something else up, right? That's not good conflict management, right? The person brought something up that's bothering them. We have a conflict. We're sticking here. Don't bring other conflicts in that you now want to use as leverage to push them back against, right? Okay. People do this all the time, right? We do it in personal relationships, 100%. Everybody does it or has done it, okay? It's not till you stop and realize that, okay, I need to figure out what I'm dealing with right here and not bring up what you did last week. You didn't wash the dishes last week, right? That's why I didn't take out the trash this week. Like what? Those two have nothing to do with each other. Zero. Okay. What does that have to do? Like, what does it to do with this? Okay. Stay focused. So you gotta control the conflict, right? Accept the conflict. Know that it's there. Don't just ignore it and be like, it'll work itself out. It doesn't. Okay. Bad news gets worse with time. Okay. And another rule is don't be the last one with the secret. Okay. If something is wrong, tell the person above you. Okay. Pass the buck till it gets to somebody who can make a decision about what to do. If you're the last person that knows the secret, you're probably going to be in some problems. Who knew about this? Okay. Dr. K's knew? Dr. K's, who did you tell? I ain't telling anybody. I just knew. Oh, why didn't you tell anybody? I don't know. Okay, well, did you solve it? Nope. Okay, well, what was your plan? What were you gonna do exactly? You just gonna let it just fester? All right. So we could have solved it on Friday, right? We could take care of we could have nipped it in the bud and take care of all this stuff. But now it's Monday and it's gotten worse, right? Because you didn't tell anyone that could make a decision about the problem and solve it, right? So you don't want to be the last one with the problem, with the conflict, all right, with the secret. So you want to eliminate the conflict, okay? Whether that means you push it up or you solve it yourself or you come up with something, right? You want to really do the best you can to kind of terminate the conflict, get it out in the open. Let's talk about it, discuss it, because it's really not too many conflicts that you can't resolve with just a little communication. Because that's what normally is. Yeah, that's all it is. Different perspectives and people communicating differently or not communicating about it, thinking you know what the person's thinking because that's what you think about it. Like they may have a whole different thought. They probably were not doing that or thinking about that when that occurred, right? And so you have to be cognizant of that. That's why um I don't necessarily I'm not a big fan of text or emails when there's like a serious conversation to be had because text is just too easy to interpret the way I wanted to interpret, right? Well, I'll talk to you later. Oh, are you yelling at me? Oh, now you mad now, right? Like, wait, well, no, I just said I'll talk to you later, like I did the other day. That it doesn't sound like it sounded all different. Oh, you can hear what the text sound like? You see? Right? So communication is key, right? But it needs to be fostered as far as an open environment where people are okay with coming in and being frank with each other, right? But you create that. The project manager or the leader creates that environment to where people are like, you know what? It's all good, right? I know if I say something to you, like for me personally, if I say something to you to the fact that, hey, I need you to cite more, I need you to do better on your work. I know you're not gonna look at me like I hate you, Dr. Gaze. Right? That's not what you're gonna be like, okay. Like you may be a little frustrated, like, why is he always on me? But at the end of the day, you're like, okay, let me see what I need to do to fix it, all right, if I can. And then I'll do my best, and then if it's not my best, I'll just keep trying, all right? That's just the way kind of it is. But you're not gonna come back the next day and like, oh, I'm gonna kill Dr. K's, or I hope he falls and break a leg, and I hope we don't. Okay, don't be wishing no stuff on me, all right? All right. I'm gonna shut it down here. Any questions?
Professor still have issues with the case study.
What about- What's the issue? Let's see. Right. Case study. Okay.
So where's the the question? I didn't read all of this. I
Ah,
started reading, but
this is it. You have to read that, right? And then do an analysis of it, right? So here, I kind of, well, this has been here for a minute, but it kind of gives you kind of a roadmap as to, what to do, right? Yeah. Yeah. This kind of, well, that's because we talked about it last week. Was it last week or the week before? No, JC, you were here. Daisy, no, it was Daisy and I. You and I talked about it, right? You weren't here, man. Yeah, you weren't here. You were there.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, so this is kind of a guideline. Okay, read and examine the case thoroughly, right? Focus your analysis, uncover possible solution, change needed, and select the best solution. Then when you actually are drafting the case study, these are the sections you should have. Introduction, identify the key problems and issues in the case. You can follow this just the way it is. Introduction, background, evaluation of the case, proposed solution, change recommendations, right? You can do it just like, because really what you're doing, you're looking at the situation and you're analyzing it, right? Because as a project manager, and because you're not, so this F-35 Joint Strike Fighter program, right, was like supposed to be the next best thing, and it was supposed to be, a $10 billion project. They're still working on it, and now it's like at $100 billion. Okay, they just can't get it right. They've been trying. This is when I was in the Marine Corps. We were talking about Joint Strike Fighter. Right, so it's been I've been retired at least 10 years now, and they're still working on it. Right, they still haven't figured it out. Right, and this is the complexity of this particular project, right? Because of what the project is about, right? You're talking about an aircraft that we're going to build that's going to be innovative and technologically advanced, but it's going to also need to be sustainable for the next 50 years because they're not going to create, they create when you're talking about these particular aircraft, every 20, 30 years, we come up with something new, right? Because you can't afford to keep building new. It's not like a car. Oh, we're just gonna build a new jet today or jet. Every year we're gonna get new jets. It doesn't work that way. Those jets have a certain lifespan, right? And so we need to get the most out of that 10, 15 years, whatever it is, 20 years, right? But we need to look at it and try to figure out, okay, what is the problems? What are the issues that they've been having, right? What is the case? Why did they even start this project, right? That's what you're really doing, right? So if you follow this little guideline here where you re-examine the case thoroughly, focus your analysis, you uncover problems, so then follow the template for how to build it, you'll be fine. Okay? But you have to read that article. You have to read the whole thing. Yeah. Yeah, you gotta read the whole thing. All right, gotta read the whole shebang bang. Anything else? Okay.